Alright, so now that we discussed the basic and more advanced concepts that we're gonna use, now it's time to go into entry models and basically what we're waiting for in order to get an entry. There's multiple entry models that you can use, but that all depends on the time frame you want to trade on. So for us to get into trades, it's very simple. If we have some certain rules that I'm gonna go over in just a second. So we need to have trading plan. It's basically a few set of rules starting from risk all the way to confirmation we want to take. So let's start off with the times we trade. So from previous videos, you know that we only take trades in the first hour of London, or first, let's say 2 hours of each session. So London first 2 hours, and then New York true open. So not the New York open, first 2 hours. So that on my time zone, UTC plus 3, it's from 10 a.m. all the way to 12 a.m. I look for entries, and then 4 p.m. all the way to 6 p.m. I'm looking for entries. And you can also look for entries at around after this time, so after 7 p.m. my time. So that's 3 hours after New York open for 2 more hours. So if you're not available to watch the charts during London or New York open, you can also watch at this time, which is 7 p.m. for 3 hours after New York true open for a potential entry, because that's when usually it gives a pullback and a continuation, or price just has a reversal. So here for now, for example, I would like to go on a buy once I see the confirmation, because New York price down, we're still bullish, higher time frame. So I could expect a potential buy to end the day, even if it's Friday, right? So I can take the entry from there and basically let it run overnight over the next session, which is Monday. It's just an example. I like these hours because that's where I found price to move the most and have the best moves. So there's no point in watching the market besides that. If you're based in Asia session, or it's hard for you to trade London or New York, you also have a time after New York. So you should be available for at least one session. Now, because these two sessions are different, in London, I only look for scalp trades. So London only quick trades, scalp trades, or just securing profit faster. And then New York, the usual trade that you let run. The reason for this, London, I like to take profits because, again, from my data, I saw that London open, once it gives a move, it moves for a 1 to 2, let's say, or a quick 10-15 pips on EURUSD, and then usually gives a reversal or just ranges until New York. So it's best to just trade for that, take profits very fast. So the pairs I trade, I have the trading plan here, but I'm gonna share in the Discord. EURUSD, GBPUSD, Gold, and AUDUSD. I'm gonna give you a framework for a trading plan that you need to go through and edit it based on your emotions, based on basically, if we have London, as I said, we're just going to take quick trades. If we have New York, we're going to use the usual trades. It's very important once you start a new week. So we start the week on Monday. If you're in the Discord group, and you probably are, I am basically going over the whole week with you guys. So you need to understand that moves in the market don't happen daily. And big moves, basically you need to think of the week as 3-4 small moves and 1 big or 2 big moves. And usually you want to aim for the big move, even if you're not catching the whole move. It's just a better probability. But you need to understand when this big move is going to happen. So for that, you need to analyze the week. So for that, you need to analyze the week and figure out, first of all, are there any news this week? So let's say we come in the market on Monday and there's NFP on Friday and ADP on Wednesday. So you know that for that week, the big moves are going to happen Wednesday and Friday with news. So if you know that, then you're going into the market with the expectation of catching just quick trades until that big move. So if you take a trade on Tuesday on London session, you know that probably there's not going to be the big move then. So you just secure as fast as possible, you make your profit. Same thing for New York also, because when there's news are usually in New York session on USD. If you have news on Wednesday, then Tuesday you catch a trade in New York, you're not going to let it run for 1 to 5. You're just going to take profits faster. Now, after, and again, when you come into the market, if you master a pair, then it's going to be very easy for you. But if you're just starting out, you need to understand every single day. You need to ask yourself 2 questions. What is the higher time frame trend? So is it bullish or bearish, the order flow? And second question is, what is the target for price? The target is a liquidity target, as I told you, or it can be an institutional target. So let's take, for example, Euro USD. So every time before you jump into the markets, you need to understand what's the trend, where is price likely to go next, and what's the target of price. Once you know these two things, then trading becomes easy. So let's say the trade that we broke down from buys here. What was my target? First of all, my trend was bullish because it switched with daily and 4 hour. And then I need to have a target. What's my higher time frame target for that week? So we come into the market Monday, have a drop, then I start questioning myself. Well, what's the potential target of price? First of all, we have this high, that's a potential target if price decides to continue bullish. So if I have the confirmation to go long, that's my target for the week. Or if I go bearish, then my target is the low because it's going to continue lower, right? So you see how if you set the target on Monday, it got hit on Thursday. Exactly when I told you. Wednesday, Thursday, we usually have the big moves. So if I take trades until then, if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I take trades, I'm going to take trades in that direction because that's my higher time frame target. But I'm just going to secure profits more often because I know the big move is probably going to happen from Wednesday or Thursday. So yeah, Wednesday, if you caught the move, you see the move here, the entry or the entry here, it got hit on Wednesday. If you caught the buy here, you have the big move, you secure profits. Next day, price pushes further and that higher time frame target hits. So that's what you need to know. If there's news that week, a very important news that I'm gonna tell you guys every single day, then most likely price will hit that target when there's news. Next, we need to look for confirmation. So our confirmation and confluences are, I like to trade with the trend, but I like to have pro trend. That's what we're going to focus mainly. Pro trend. So with the higher time frame narrative that we talked about, if the higher time frame narrative shows price is going to go bullish, I want to trade in that direction. Liquidity needs to be taken. That means equal highs, equal lows, Frankfurt highs, Frankfurt low, right? That's for London Open. And also Asia high and Asia low inducement that we're going to go over in a separate video, the setup. So we need to have liquidity taken, and that starts from the higher time frame all the way to the smaller time frames. You need to think of all the time frames, they stack together, and then the move happened. People tend to focus only on the 4 hour, only on the 1 minute, and it doesn't work like that. You need to have everything put together. So you need to have liquidity taken on the 4 hour, on the 1 hour, on the 50 minute, on the 5 minute, and then even on the 1 minute if you want to take the entry. You always need to have liquidity taken. So before you enter a trade, ask yourself, has liquidity been taken or am I the liquidity? If you respond with I am the liquidity, then obviously don't get into the trade. Just wait for liquidity to be taken. Now, if we are in a pro trend market and we're in a day with bigger chances of a move, so that's Wednesday, Thursday, or even Tuesday sometimes, or we're close to news, I want to see 1 minute order flow aligned in my direction for a safe one, for a safe trade. So if it's a very pro trend trade and I'm during volatility, so that's session open or close to news, and in a good day for trading, I want to look for 1 minute confirmation, 1 minute order flow in my direction. What that means is I need to have price aligned bullish. So price aligned bullish basically means after I have a change of character, that's price realigned bullish for me. So I can look more aggressively at an entry there to push price higher. If it's a riskier trade, I want to look for 5 minutes. So just same thing, but 5 minute confirmation because it's better. Now for counter trend trades or counter trend order flow, I only look for quick trades. So I'm never going to take a big trade and keep it running. If I decide to enter a counter trend trade, I only take a trade after 1 hour break of structure. So that means this is the 1 hour structure, right? And I want to take buys. I'm only going to take buys after a break of structure on the 1 hour to the downside. So after I have this break of structure, I'm going to look on 1 hour. I'm going to look for low time frames confirmation, the session, and everything that we discussed about in order to take a quick buy because I want to catch the pullback. So when we're trading against the trend, we're basically trying to catch a pullback. Right, so catching a pullback usually means that you didn't have a break of structure. So that's a very simple rule. Always only after that or after big liquidity has been taken. So liquidity from a daily week or a 4 hour week or a 12 hour week. Only after that I can look for a reversal. And if I have rejections, right? So if I don't have a break of structure and price just wicks the low, let's say this is a 12 hour low, just wicks the low and then closes above, I'm going to look for that reversal. And then the session, always in the session, very important. And as a target, I try to take profit as fast as possible. So 1 to 2 minimum and just put break even as fast as possible just because I'm not sure price is going to hold. So I just go break even very fast and basically that's it. And this is a good entry for EURUSD as you see here. So normally I would probably take this buy here or wait for the retest, but it's Friday, so probably going to range a while. Now for risk percentage. I usually risk 1% on or 0.5% on trades where I have a bigger stop loss. So when I enter a trade on EURUSD and I use a 10 pip stop loss, I use 1% risk or 0.5% risk. And this is how I'm going to teach you to trade. So EURUSD usually gonna have 5 to 10 pips stop losses with a 1 to 2. And then on gold, I usually use 20-30 pips stop loss. This was a trade that I took at gold, which was a loss because price did come back to the zone to mitigate it. I didn't think it was gonna come, so I got faked out. I should have just went break even here, but I held the trade, got stopped out, price reversed in my direction. So gold using 20-30 pips stop loss. And if I use smaller stop losses, so if I want to take a trade on EURUSD on the 1 minute and I use 2 or 3 pips as a stop loss, then I'm going to risk 0.25%. Because you have such a small stop loss, your risk reward gets bigger and you're also going to get stopped out more often. Now, for trade management, the target risk reward for me is going to be a 1 to 2 always for a 1% risk or 0.5% risk. And if I trade with a smaller stop loss, I'm going to aim for at least a 1 to 3 or a 1 to 5. And usually I just full take profit unless we have a big move, and then I just take partials. And if we have the higher time frame target, I always set break even after 1 to 1 or after we break structure. So I showed you in trade management video, after we have the break of structure, I usually place break even. But if we also have a 1 to 1 before that, I place break even because I don't like for price to go in profit and then come back to me. Now, to exit the trade in London session, I always take 80% off at the Asia high or low if it wasn't taken, just in case he wants to reverse them. So the pattern that Asia session does, as I showed you, I think I showed you. So Asia session, when the high or low is taken, then usually it can reverse. So I like to take profit there. And also always taking partials if I see an aggressive move. So let's say I am, let's find a good setup here. So if I see this aggressive move to the downside, like 15 pips in one candle, I just book profits because most of the times it's gonna reverse, it's not gonna continue. So for that reason, I like to book profits. I just don't really trust the London session, to be honest, and I noticed from analyzing my data and my trades, it's best to take profit as fast as possible in London. So if I see 10 pips on you in 2 minutes, there's a big chance price will pull back, so I just secure profits. And also taking partials if price is starting to range on the 1 minute and it's not moving too much, because there's a chance London is just gonna range. Now, for New York, which is the main session we trade, I usually just go full TP if I have a good trade, or 80% at risk reward and then leaving the runner to run towards the higher time frame bias. So it's important to understand, if you have a higher time frame target and you know price is heading in a way, you could just take 80% off at your usual target and then let the rest run towards the big target. And then my targets, my daily targets in trading is I usually take one setup in London session, which is a scalp one. I use a lower risk, and then I have 1 or 2 trades available to take in New York, which will be high probability with a bigger risk. And my target for a week is I take 1 to 2 high risk trades. So that means 1 to 2 1% trades, and then 2 or 3 low risk trades. So 0.25% risk. So let's take for example, a funded account. If you have a funded account, we're going to discuss this in the latest chapter, and yeah, that's my trading plan basically. So it's not hard. Just wanted to go over that first. Now in the next video, we're gonna go over how we can take entries. So I'll see you guys in the next one.